Hi, welcome back to Camp Chaos. What you see here is my 1994 Jaguar XJ6 Sovereign that I bought a few years ago. It shows potential of being a really good car, but it does have a few problems that need to be solved before you can take it on the highway. And we're going to work on this together. We're going to solve these problems, you and me. You and me, buddy. We're going to fix this. Dang it. So what do I mean you and I are going to fix this car? Well, there's a couple things going on here. First of all, I don't have a lot of time. I got the XJS track car to get back on track, the Champ car to get up on four wheels by the end of the year, a top to put on the convertible, a couple of engines to produce. It's just crazy around here. That's why we call it Camp Chaos. I'd like to get this car on the road, but the probability that I will take the time and do the troubleshooting and find the information and so forth, it just really looks kind of bleak in that regard. Another reason why I think it'd be interesting for you folks to make comments on what my problems are and what the symptoms are is that there's a number of people on these Facebook groups and other forums that are interested in Jaguars but haven't actually jumped in the pool yet. And one of the big deals is, do I have enough expertise available? Do I have mechanics available that can help me maintain and repair this car? Well, the probability is that in your community, there's not anybody that's actually spent a lot of time working on these cars. The truth is that your mechanic is going to go to school on your car. So what we can do here is show them that there's a lot of resources out there on these Facebook groups, people who have worked on these cars and had a lot of experience with them that can give them information that they can compile before they actually take this to a mechanic in their community. Or maybe they can fix it themselves. I think that's a valuable thing. So let's talk about some history between me and this car. In 2017, I traveled out to the Los Angeles area to spend the Thanksgiving holiday with my two kids. And it was a beautiful day, cloudless sky, great flight, Delta, they do a good job. And at one point we were flying over St. George, Utah. And I've spent a little time around St. George, and I could look down, being in the window seat, and see all the great roads that I could be driving down there. And suddenly I'd had just about enough of commercial aviation. Now don't get me wrong, I like aviation, I love aviation. In fact, I was a teacher for 32 years and I was a ground school instructor in one form or another during that entire time. And I love aviation. But what I hate is riding in the back. I just really chafe at that. So when I got to Los Angeles, flew into John Wayne Airport, there's a hotel called the Atrium across the street, and checked into my hotel room, took out my computer and started looking for Jaguars. And this is one of the first ones that popped up. And it was white. I've always wanted a white one of these. I've owned two of them. One was green, another I painted green, and decided that this was the one that I was going to buy. Well, the dealership was basically, you could call it about as close to East LA as you need to be and call it East LA. Crenshaw Boulevard. And it was a little dealership. The guy that owned it, his name was Gussie, and good guy, sincere guy as far as I could tell. It's just that getting the deal done was like herding cats. But we finally did. And after the holidays, I got in the car and I started driving home. Now, when I left LA, it was about 90 degrees and the air conditioning was blowing ice cold, which is good. Well, I got to northern Utah and it started to get really cold, and got to Wyoming, even colder. And you know what? That's all the HVAC in this car would do, is blow ice cold. So after a stop at Walmart to pick up a hoodie, some long underwear, and a pair of big heavy gloves, it wasn't too bad a trip. Once the greenhouse effect started taking effect during the day around noon, the car ran great, it drove great, except for when I got to Wyoming. It just started kind of wandering all over the road, and when you get to Wyoming, there's a lot of oil activity going on there, and there's a lot of tanker trucks going from the oil fields to the terminals. So there were grooves or troughs that have been worn in the highway, and so this car was just all over the place, and I thought that something had let go on the front end. But it got better when we got to South Dakota, where the roads got better. And in fact, when I got home, I changed the tires, and it's been perfect ever since. Now, during the course of the trip, however, an oil leak opened up. And those of us who know something about these cars know that there is an issue that they have with the head gasket leaking right above the distributor. And in this case, the floodgates opened. And so I had to replace the cylinder head gasket in order to solve that, because it was a really bad leak. And after I got done, it fired right up, but it wasn't long after that the problem started to develop, the ones that we're going to go into in the next segment. Well, the good news first. This car had been sitting for about a year, had year-old fuel in it. I topped up the battery, got in, turned the key, and it started just about that well. Idled right where it's supposed to. Great. Problem is, and this is one that evidenced itself toward the end of the period when I drove it last, over a year ago. You put your foot on the brake and try to take it out of park and put it in reverse, it doesn't go. Well, it does now, because what I did when it was stuck in park, I bounced my foot on the brake pedal a few times, thinking that I'd wake up the circuit that releases the shift lever from park, and you know what? It did. Now here's the thing. I have absolutely no confidence that that problem isn't going to come back. So I'm going to need a little input from you as to what that was and what I can do to make sure it won't happen again. So there's that. Another thing is that as we accelerate the engine, smooth up to about 1500, 1600, about 1800, the engine starts missing real badly. So that's not acceptable. There's a couple of running problems. If I accelerate, it'll accelerate through 2000, 3000, all the way up to red line, and it'll run perfectly smoothly. The problem is that if I settle in at 2000 RPMs and just cruise there, it'll shake and shudder pretty badly. Another problem that I believe may be associated with that is that if I pull up to a stop sign, about 80% of the time, the engine will quit running. If I pull up very slowly and smoothly and gradually, it'll continue to run with just a dip in the RPMs. But if I pull up, as any of us would at a normal rate of speed, it at least 80% of the time will quit running. Now there are three more problems that I think are related. The first one is the speedometer doesn't work, and no clue what that's about. The second thing is the ABS is inoperable, and I believe the ABS, based on the research that I had done previously last year, the ABS actually is dependent on the speedometer itself working in order for it to work. The third thing, of course, is the cruise control doesn't work because the speedometer is inoperable. So, solve the speedometer problem, I think the other two would take care of themselves. So what do you think? Well, first of all, I think that gear shift problem, it's back. Oh well. Well, those are the problems. And I think that if we work together in a collaborative, collegial manner, we can get these things solved and turn that into a great car. So if you like these videos, like us, subscribe to us, follow us on Facebook, and leave a few comments down below so that we can know what we can do what we do better. And we'll see you the next time on the Camp Chaos Chronicles.